Okay, Detroit Chess Book Club. I just finished the Learning with Tile book. I hope you had a chance to look at the review that I gave for it. In essence, I think it's a very good book to strengthen your attacking consciousness, your attacking concepts. If you're already a very aggressive attacking player, it might not help you. I mean, there is no amazing concepts it can do. Only thing you can do is strengthen your tactical play. But for those of us who are positional players, I think it's very beneficial. What I do is while I'm studying the book, I of course am playing. Mostly I play against the computer. I set the computer for a certain rating, 2000 to be exact, and I try to apply the new principles that I'm learning. Here's one such game that I'm somewhat proud of. Of course, I'm going to try to control the center. Now, if you don't already know all of your basic principles of chess, or if you know them yet you're not able to consistently apply them, then another book will be much more beneficial than the Learning with Tile book. And I am not at a point where I'm very consistent with my chess, period. But I enjoyed it anyway. Here, before I started studying the Tile book, I would have done something about this. I never allow my pawn structure to be weakened in any shape, form, or fashion. But now, yeah, he weakens my pawn structure, but I get the bishop pair, and I really am now focusing on, when I have that bishop pair, open the position and start playing, instead of just trying to avoid losing my bishop pair. As you see, I just gave away the bishop pair because I'm trying to strengthen my attacking. The real idea behind that exchange was to get rid of that knight that guards the king's castle. So already I have attacking ideas. Okay, so black has successfully weakened my pawn structure, and I don't even have a bishop pair because I gave it away thinking that I would have attacking chances in the future. And one of the other reasons why I gave it away is because if he does castle to the king's side, I'm going to focus my attack on this pawn. The other question here is I was very confident that he was going to castle to the king's side because the file is already open to go to a queenside castle, in which case I'm still going to attempt an attack. So right now I've already planned to somehow lock up the center and use my rook in front of my pawns to initiate the attack. In one of the chapters it talks about using a pawn storm to attack, or using your minor pieces in front of your pawns to initiate an attack if you can find a target. My target right now is this h6. And for the most part I'm making sound moves relating to the attacks. When you have to do something that you're giving up consideration for to get a more aggressive position, that you have to think about twice. And he's castled to the king's side. His natural defender of his king's castle is already gone, and he's pushed up one of the pawns in front of his castle. Theoretically, this weakens the castle. By that knight not being there, I think we're going to have more opportunities for attack. So already I've decided to get my pawn to e5. If it gets exchanged off, I'll still have a pawn at e5. This queen is going to have to get out of the way. then somehow swing my knight, my rook, over to either g3 or h3. Right now, even though none of that has happened yet, I'm thinking very seriously about h3 because this bishop is gone to b7. The other reason I like playing against the computer is because you have a record of your game, and you can always have the computer analyze your game, then go back over it. Small technical difficulty there. As you see, I've already pushed up my rook. I'm not going to try a pawn storm. I'm going to try to play the rook, the knight, the bishop, the queen, all against the king's castle. If I can get that pawn to e5, which is one of the comments in the Learn with Tal book, black is going to have, it's going to be very difficult for black to shift the bishop, the knight, the rook over to the king's side for defense. It's hard to defend with the queen when you have minor pieces coming at you. So, and this rook is already behind. Right now, the analysis of the computer says the position is just about even. If he pushes up e5, I'm going to have a problem, because that bishop will be able to come back to defend the king. But I think it's too early for me, or it was too early for me to push up to e5. Now he's playing on the queen side. I think I have an opportunity, so I pulled the trigger. Again, before I started studying the book, I would have almost at all costs avoided having double isolated pawns. Even though I don't believe they're as bad as having double isolated pawns on open file, this is still a closed file. But if I have to go into the end game, that's going to be a deficit. And back when I played a lot better than I do now, I won most of my games in the end game. So right now I'm feeling very successful, even though the computer says I only have a slight advantage. I need to clear out the knight to play the rook over. The queen is going after this rook and possibly these pawns, which in my opinion, when someone is attacking you, you're really just losing tempos. Let's try and make a decision between g3 or h3. The recommendation again by the computer is g3 is better. Actually, it says queen g4 is best. I went h3 because I thought that if you go g3, right away the alarm sounds, black is under attack, he's going to start shifting his pieces. Go over h3, they're thinking no way can you sack a rook for a pawn, so there's a good chance black is going to continue his plan of causing havoc on the queen side. Exchange the knight, which I didn't mind at all, because now there's actually a threat to win the queen, so I know the queen has to move. Threatening the rook, and this is where I'm trying to decide between e1 and d1. I finally decided on d1 because if the queen comes back with the take here, that check still captures the queen. Now he's just pawn grabbing. There's no one to defend. There are no pieces to defend his king's position. But if you look at the surface, there's also no way in. The rook alone. Shut. White really has no way in except to sacrifice a piece. This is where the sacrifice occurs, and on that move, the computer's analysis was a 300-point advantage to White. I don't know if it's really that big, but it's really big according to the computer is. G takes H, and the position should be 1. But this is very important to take the check first. Check, force the king over into the corner. And I also had a game some time ago that had the same chess pattern, if you will, and I lost it. I went to H5 instead of H4 or even F4. That makes the win a lot easier. The game that I lost before, I lost on time because it took me too long to get things back together. The key to this move is it covers H6 and it covers F6. He's going to try to make himself some room if he can get there, and the challenge is not to let the king escape from that corner. That's a bigger challenge than anything else. And of course, at this point, he's not going to be able to escape out. Check, force the king back. Check, king goes back. Check, king goes back. Checkmate. Okay. In summary, the key moves to that game I probably would not have made if I was not actually trying to play more aggressively, and more aggressively to the point where if a sacrifice seems appropriate, I would go for it. Okay, I do have another game, but we will show that at another time. Thank you.